Okay, so we continue working on the cylinder. I had gone in and laid out all of the locations for the holes that need to get tapped. This 1/16 of an inch hole gets drilled through, and that's at the bottom of the cylinder. That'll be the air passage or steam passage. Okay, and I had put those coordinates into the digital readout, just like I did when I did the frame, and went ahead, center drilled them, and came back with the number 50 drill bit, which is the tap size for a 256 thread. Went ahead and drilled them, and well, now we'll move on to the tapping. So we'll get started with that. My little baby 256 tap, and I'm going to use the digital readout one more time, and I'll go around and move it so I could use my let's see if I bring you out a little bit. I think this might be in the frame now. My my tap follower here, and this way it'll ensure that the tap stays straight, reduce the chance of any breakage on that. Okay, now I'll go to the next subdatum point, zero out the digital readout again, and tap again. Alright, so you guys get the idea. I'm going to go ahead and off camera tap the rest of these holes. I'm going to put a chamfer on the edge of the cylinder block. Two sides, or two corners actually. So there's no dimensions given for any of that. So I'm just going to come up 1/8 of an inch on this face, 1/8 of an inch on this face, and break that edge. That'll leave it with a 45-degree angle there, and do it on each corner here. What I'll do is I'll just scribe a couple of lines with the height gauge, and to just give me a reference. And then once it's put in the vise, I'll come down about 88 thousandths, and I'll tell you how I determined that distance in a little bit. So meanwhile, I'll get you over to the surface plate and height gauge, and let's scribe a couple of reference lines. I think you guys can see, got the height gauge set for 1/8 of an inch, 125 thousandths. And if I can get in here, so we're gonna, this is just a visual reference, and okay, so I have the V block setup is just sitting on the parallel Nothing fancy about that. Now, the cylinder, it still has to get trimmed off down to length in the back here yet. I didn't do that. It's shorter than the V-block, so if I clamp this, it's just going to hold the V-block, and this is just going to be left to float around. So I got a little sacrificial piece of stock here, and that's just going to be a piece of packing just to hold the cylinder tight in there. And we'll snug this down. Okay. Okay. Now, I just gotta mill this off. I'll probably take a couple of light passes on that. And I mentioned before, I'm going to come down from, get something to point right here. Like I mentioned before, I'm going to come down 88 thousandths from the surface, from this corner down. Okay, so back here at the mill, got everything secured in the vise here. It's not like super secured, it's only grabbing by a little bit. So I'm just going to take some light cuts on this back and forth. What I went ahead and did is zeroed out the end mill on my digital readout, and I'll just take nice light cuts till it gets down to 88 thousandths deep. Then I'll take it out, I'll flip it to the other side and do the same for that other corner. So let's hope all goes well. It's a lot of work up to this point. It'd really be discouraging to mess something up now. Okay, side two. Alright, so the chamfering is done on both corners here. Broke the edges. It's kind of a nice proportion. The spacing here, it's just like in the drawing basically. This bore is not centered in here, you know, the same distance from the edge. So I mean, this is just for aesthetics here. The only thing left to do on this now is to trim this to final length. Alright guys, here's the math part. This is the stuff that when you were in high school you said, when am I ever going to use this? So, well, here it is. So I mentioned before, I calculated the distance from that corner to how deep we got to mill that down to, and I said it was 88 thousandths of an inch. So this, how I arrived at that was, this is the cylinder that you're looking at it endwise. This is not to scale or anything like that. So we were going to, from this surface, 1/8 of an inch, 125 thousandths. From this surface here, 1/8 of an inch. Okay, and so this is what you have. So you know your two sides here. You can determine this distance with the old Pythagorean theorem. And then you can arrive at this height, which was the distance. Now, basic geometry is this is an isosceles triangle, so you got the two sides are the same distance or the same length, and then you have your hypotenuse. So if we cut that in two, we have two smaller isosceles triangles. So half of this distance, with some round out error, is 088. Therefore this will be 088 as well. And you can check that by using the Pythagorean theorem again. And I think when you do it with the calculator, it rounds out to like 089. It's close enough here. 088, 089. I don't think it's going to matter any bit. So this is just for aesthetics. So there you have it. There's your dose of geometry for today.